Hey everybody, I'm Emily Elrod and I'm with Workzbe. Today I want to give you a quick talk about something that's very passionate for me and at Workzbe, and it's called work wise. And why do we say that in the first place? Because we think that we should have wise work so people can actually work wise. And what we have found whenever we go into organizations, that they have great intent with people's strategies, but they don't bring everybody together. How do I say that, or what do I mean by that? Think of it as I have an organizational department over here, and then I have a safety department over here, and I have purpose training over here, mentorship, leadership. They're all in their different areas. And I've yet to find many organizations where they all come together and have conversations about how to have a full out people strategy. And so I want to go into the physiology of why we need to work wise, which wise is work well, work intelligent, work safe, and work empowered. And so I'm going to give you a high-level overview about the physiology of people. And so we can see how it works best in our environments. The first thing that we have is serotonin. I call that our safety cop. Serotonin is found in our brain and our gut, and actually 90% of it is in our gut. This is the reason we have gut reactions on things. So what does serotonin affect? It affects our sleep, our food, our mood, and our movement. Think of it this way. If you do not feel safe, what are you most likely going to be doing? If you feel safe, are you going to be working, doing great work? Are you going to be thinking about that, what is keeping you unsafe? Are you going to be at home in the fetal position in your bed, like most likely I would be doing whenever I'm not safe? So those are the things that you need to look at. And then look at dopamine. Dopamine is our reward mechanism for our body. And so I say it's our cheerleader, yay, and I hope that is what I try to give to y'all sometimes is dopamine, so that this is an encouragement and motivation for you to go on and go to your organizations and say, hey, we need to come together and have a talk. And so what does dopamine affect? It affects our food, it affects our mood, and it also affects our movement. Think about this whenever you were a child, or maybe still today in your organizations. How do you reward people? Typically, cupcakes, candy, lollipops, something with that. That's what I've always been told whenever I say this stuff in my trainings. And then think about it in this way. If you ever had PE class, or if you were an athlete, what was your punishment? Was it exercise? Was it running laps? Was it doing push-ups? Well, all those people grew up to be adults and they don't want to get up and move, but yet we know that moving increases dopamine. And so therefore, we're not going to be moving, what is affecting our food and our mood as well. Then we look at oxytocin. Oxytocin is what I call the loving grandmother. This is the love hormone that it's known as, and it's actually directed back to trust. And I do want to say that this oxytocin sometimes gets confused with the love of like Hollywood love. That is actually more dopamine, so you're getting a reward out of it. Kind of conditional with it sometimes, where oxytocin is the full out trust that comes with it. So oxytocin is what makes contractions awful for females whenever they're having their babies, and so it allows you to have love at first sight. And it's also why we want the skin to skin contact, because that also increases oxytocin. But as you can see, oxytocin affects everything. It affects our sleep, it affects our food, it affects our mood, and it affects our movement. And I like to say that this love is about patience, being kind, being empathetic with one another. A lot of the emotional intelligence skills that need to be developed in a lot of people. And then cortisol. I call this our angry coworker. This is the stress hormone of the body. And as you can see, it can affect a lot of things. It affects our sleep. It affects our food. It affects our movement. Our mood. And think of it this way too. Whenever you're stressed out, how are you going to eat? As somebody that has worked in hospital systems, think about the people whenever you come there. Nobody wants to be at a hospital. Never found anybody unless they're having a baby. But 9 times out of 10, nobody ever wants to be at a hospital. So looking at the cortisol being released, what are they eating? That's the reason why you always have comfort food at hospitals, for a reason. And if you have a stressed out organization, think about that. You want people to eat better. But if your policies still have it where they're getting politics are playing, or you have some just things where people do not get to grow or use their brains to further themselves, You're shutting off actually their learning centers of their brains, because that's what cortisol does. So you, in essence, are killing thinking and progress if you have a stressful environment. And so we see how this affects the human body, and why I say it's a people strategy, and why it is for allowing people to work wise, but also for work to be wise. Environment plays a huge factor. Actually, we know now that genetics only play, depending on which research you see, from 15 to 25%. And as I like to call it, it's like light switches. And so you all have light switches on your genomes, and you can turn them on and off. But the reality is that you hold a lot of power, and the environment does as well that you're in. So we know temperature, we know where you live, we know 5 a.m. shoveling snow, most likely time to have a heart attack. We know that if you are after you just ate a meal and it's 2 p.m. and you're not outside, or if you are in yellow light, you are very likely to get sleepy with that. And so you might go for your second coffee run. Think about where you work, the stress that you have there. Is there a lot of politics there? How is that playing in? Are you able to get up and move at work? I always say, I don't know why we put people in front of computers all days, because when's the best time you ever had a great idea? For me, it's never been in front of a computer. It's typically on a walk or in the shower or at 2 p.m. at night or 2 a.m. at night, which I probably should be asleep. But then look at your access to healthcare or the cost of healthcare with it. How about your friends, your family, that connection? Are you even connecting with people? Are you connecting people through social media? Are you actually connecting with people one-on-one? Because that's what we need. We need that one-on-one connection. We need the high fives that releases oxytocin. And then finally, how are you able to grow your purpose? How are you doing? Do you feel like where you are is where you need to be? I've found so many people that just keep going through the same motions, but kind of expecting different results. So this is the reason why I believe work wise matters. And if you need any other thoughts, comments, please leave them below, or feel free to reach out to me. Or if you have any great ideas, or you may have done some research on this, please feel free to put it in below. Thank you.